So the presidency hanging in the balance. Joe Biden appears to have the upper hand right now. The Trump campaign has been filing lawsuits questioning the integrity of the election.
Yeah, but does the Trump campaign have a legitimate fight here, and what legal paths do lie ahead? We are joined by legal analyst Dan Eaton. And Dan, we'll start with that question. What kind of evidence, where is the bar in terms of whether or not these accusations being made about the election can move forward?
Well, Jim, your question really hit on the key word here, which is there's a difference between accusations on the one hand and evidence on the other. And ultimately, our president and his team is going to have to come up with pretty solid evidence of irregularities beyond process irregularities, such as not giving access to certain poll watchers to determine that there is some problem in the count as it is unfolding.
Dan, as you know, different states can have different election laws. Do you see that playing a factor here in any way as we move forward?
Virginia, it's a huge factor because the fact is there isn't one standard and there isn't one particular issue. For example, in some states, he's saying, particularly Pennsylvania, he's saying the legislature said that all ballots had to be received by election day to be valid. You can't have courts extending it, notwithstanding the pandemic-related mail delays. And then in other states, you're having access to poll watchers and guaranteeing access to poll watchers and saying, well, the president's poll watchers didn't have access. These are the various different grounds on which the president is challenging these results. But when you look at the numbers that are involved, it becomes difficult the wider the spread gets between the number of votes the president has and the number of votes Joe Biden, the challenger, has. And that's going to make the legal challenge more difficult still in coming up with sufficient evidence to show that there was something wrong with the counts as they are ultimately unfolding.
And Dan, the president has said he wants this to go to the Supreme Court, which is making some nervous because we have a new conservative Supreme Court. What are the odds of that happening?
Well, the odds of anything going to the Supreme Court always going to be very, very slim. But the fact is that this is a significant, obviously this is a very significant issue. It's really going to depend, though, on whether it really even matters at the end of the day. Unlike in 2000, when you had only a single stated issue in Bush versus Gore, you have a multi-front battle, and you have the possibility that this may very well be moot by the time it would make it to the Supreme Court in the weeks ahead, because enough states would have been called definitively for Joe Biden for it not to matter with what happens in, say, Pennsylvania as to whether certain ballots are counted that were received after Election Day but postmarked by Election Day, which is one of the critical federal issues that may be raised.
Dan, given the legal uncertainty, do you have any sense of how long this could drag on? Are we talking days, weeks, or months?
That's as much a political question as it is a legal question, because at the end of the day, when you look at Bush versus Gore, of course, that wasn't definitively resolved until December 12th. I don't see this taking that long. And the reason for that is because I think that Joe Biden's path to 270 is a lot less complicated than George W. Bush's was when it all hinged on a single state and fewer than 600 ballots. You're talking about over 1,000 ballots in all of these states, and I have a feeling that this is going to be resolved sooner than later. That said, the state legislatures may get involved. Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia all have Republican legislatures, and they may decide to appoint Trump electors, notwithstanding the popular vote, or at least the appearance of the popular vote. All of that is going to have to play out. So my guess is that we're going to be measured in weeks, not months. We're going to know what's going to happen. My sense is by Thanksgiving.
All right, Dan Eaton, thank you so much. And I do want to ask you just finally here, aside from what we've asked you, anything on your mind about this that just stands out in your experience in law?
What's fascinating about this, Jim, is that you are talking about so many different layers of things, from the Constitution to all of these various state laws. The fact is that under Article 2, the legislatures of the state are empowered to decide who gets elected as electors to the Electoral College. And that's why we're seeing this wide variety of different challenges. And that's what makes this so interesting to a geek like myself, who's really focused on the Constitution and the way it intersects with these laws from sea to shining sea.
Legal analyst Dan Eaton, we are also getting caught up in your enthusiasm, but we appreciate your insights. We really do.
Merry Christmas.